Takeover, featuring Dequimus by Zardonic from Takeover 2018. Good morning, I'm Aurian Archive, and I'm still hung up on this Illusion Empathy controller. Alright, over the night, I posted this to one of the City of Heroes forums, and almost immediately a player responded asking about skipping heal other. How did you deal with the endurance cost on healing aura? Wasn't this a signature power must have while leveling and empathy anything? Okay, fair question. I don't do leveling builds. I really don't. And part of that is I do backports and level scaling. Like this build right here, the one with the controller losing empathy, Ice Flight R2, the last one that I worked on, only really blossoms into smashing and lethal soft cap at when you get frozen armor, which is in the low 40, but you're at smashing lethal soft cap for only the end game. Now, if you are using scaling values, that is to say, in game, and uh, I probably should have actually had a game launch open. And give me a second while I actually um, bring up a build that is in flight. And there is. We'll get to it later. Okay, we'll go with you. And we'll do Zelrinder. Alright, let's get Zelrinder ready. And then we'll bring Zelly up on the screen. Okay, Zelly, time for your appearance this morning. Sure, kid. And yeah. Okay. There she is. Zelrinder. Okay, Agent Zelrinder, what you got? You can see right now I am filling in various slots to make her build. And you'll see that some of these ATO's archetype enhancements are already attuned. And you'll see that others, like build up here, are not attuned. Now, you have two ways to go about here on some enhancements. You can either boost them, which, and this is one of the things you'll see me do when I start hitting the plus and have a +5. And now when I mouse over this, we can see that our dual here, our 2-hit buff endurance reduction is 19%, 2-hit buff 33.1% endurance reduction. Right over recharge endurance reduction is 26 by 26.5, and 2-hit buff recharge is 15.9 by 26.5. So we'll work on the 2-hit buff down here, same thing. We'll do it up +5. And now it's 19.9 and 33.1. Now, the thing is, when you plus an enhancement, you only now get those bonuses at that enhancement level. You will now only get the full increased area effect defense by 2.5%, and fire cold defense by 1.25%, and the range defense by 2.5%, and energy and negative defense by 1.25% when you are at the level for the enhancement, which in this case is level 50. If you have an attuned enhancement, which in this case, we'll do this on the proc, and yes, I want to use a catalyst. And now, anytime that if I attune, and this is more applicable to the luck of the gamblers. Anytime I attune an enhancement, I now get it up and down the level range, which on luck of the gambler has a minimum level enhancement of 22. So anything down to 22 minus 3 minus 5, it's like 17. For the most point, if you can slot a luck of the gambler, you will get the luck of the gambler proc performance. And that's a critical thing to keep in mind when you're talking about doing a scaling build or doing a performance build. Scaling builds are generally not very performative at the top end, but they scale down and you can play a wider range of content and be more effective. Because, and we'll do a quick demonstration here on the solution time, we'll go down to maneuvers and we'll just change this to a regular. We'll take the plus fives off and we'll do the same thing with weave. Actually, these are bad examples. But taking those down to plus 5. Thing is, Luck of the Gambler doesn't actually have any defense in the IO buffs. So you really want the maximum enhancement effect, you're not going for the IO buff that is provided through defense. And here we can still see, even as I drop those, that I'm still into various soft cap defenses now. Admittedly, I'm in there because of agility radial. And as we bring those back up, and okay, with those still at plus 5, without agility radial, I'm still at range soft cap, and I will be at range soft cap as soon as the level enhancements kick in. If I do instead of plus 5 on preemptive optimization, I just attune all of preemptive optimization. If I attune all of Basilisk Gaze, well, not even Basilisk Gaze is such a low set. You may want to plus that anyway so you get the most benefit out of it. If you use a tune on expedient reinforcements, if you use a tune on healing aura on the Numinas, if everything that has a defense boost in the IO sets is attuned and scales up and down for level, you will be into soft cap, into range soft cap as soon as you take weave and finish slotting it. That's one of the reasons why I don't do leveling builds, because you can level very, very quickly. You can get on those task force, you can get with a team, you can get with a farm. Getting levels in City of Heroes is not really a big issue. If you already have a level 50 that can get into a farm and farm your own self on a second account, you can get your levels. The question really isn't, can you get levels? And the question is, do you want to level your character as you are playing it? And if that's what you want to do, my builds are probably not for you. All right. Now, since I've kind of now realized I'm recovering ground I did for the these are what procs do, these are why you would take them video, I want to do a quick change and convert Ice Mastery to Stone Armor. Just see how that would look. And so we'll go ahead and drop out all of our powers here. Got 4 to work with. We'll change to Stone. We're pretty sure we're going to take Fissure. We're pretty sure we're going to take Seismic Smash. Wait, can I take... Okay, we'll take Rock Armor, then Seismic Smash, and then Earth's Embrace. Alright, now for Rock Armor, we'll fill it out with the Look at a Gambler. Okay, and we're not quite at smashing lethal. So that's something we want to keep in mind. We may not be able to work on recharge as much. We may have to go with blistering cold to get into where we want to be. With our defenses, Earth's Embrace, our plus HP. Again, with accolades up, that's Freedom Phalanx Reserve, Portal Jockey, Dark Forest Commander, Atlas Medallion. Without any slotting at all in advanced totals, our HP is currently 1806 out of 1606. So we're actually 200 points over the HP cap with Earth's Embrace right now, and we haven't done anything else. Now, Fissure is a stun, but we're going to, since we're not looking for any defense right now, yeah, we'll just turn on agility to double check our numbers there. And we'll +5 these up. Okay, and then Seismic Smash. Alright, with Agility Radial, which is when you would have basically anytime you have rock armor, you would have Agility Radial, and you'll be well into smashing lethal energy negative range, soft capped. It's when you don't have rock armor, you're in the lower level. That means you're down here in the mid range in the 30s to the 20s. Well, the question is, do we want more recharge right now, or do we want smashing lethal defense at a non-agility incarnate bump? You know, do we want to be able to say take spiritual incarnate so we have a little bit more regeneration? Now, if we turn that off, and that's energy negative ranged, smashing lethal melee. So we can clearly get smashing lethal melee with superior blistering cold. We can also stack recharge chance for hold on top of seismic smash for foe hold, and thus have a little bit more control. We'll lose some recharge time. Okay, there we go. And let's check our Phantom Army. What does our recharge time look like? Recharge time is 60 through 68. Oh, that's right. Agility is turned off. 68, but we're at 49 smashing lethal. We're at 45 ranged. And okay. It's like I would still really go with agility just to be more into the soft cap and just go for recharge. And here you can see me +5ing up Hecatomb. And again, if you haven't watched the video on or the stream on what enhancement procs do and why you would plus them, why you would uh, attune them, you probably should watch that. You should probably watch that stream first. Okay, so here we go. Here's Ice Flight, or here's Empathy. Here's Illusion, Empathy, Stone, Flight, R2. Now, and this is something that's kind of important to talk about, is how does, because I pick on Paragon and Cryptic a lot of times because, and same with, I'm going to pick on Powerhouse for this, because a lot of times how the how how the developer thinks the build is going to be played is not necessarily how the player approaches the build. Now, since I made this build, I've got an Illusion Storm, I've got a Mind Fire, I have some idea of how I would run Illusion, how I would run uh, Empathy, and I know Empathy because Tiger Snow, one of the players I ran with on live, had an Archery Empathy Defender, or Empathy Archery Defender, also known as Lack of Damage. Uh, and keeping in mind how a build is supposed to work, Empathy doesn't offer anything in the way of debuffs at all. It doesn't really offer anything in the way of player buffs at all. Heal Other is for other players. Absorb Pain is for other players and damages you. Resurrect is for other players. Clear Mind is for other players. Fortitude is for other players. Adrenaline Boost is for other players. So the only three powers that affect the player in Empathy are Healing Aura, Recovery Aura, and Regeneration Aura. And two of those, Recovery Aura has a base recharge time of 500 seconds. Regeneration has a base time of 500 seconds. So even if you are running a mega hyper fast recharge build, in this case we are pushing a 175% recharge. Just to put this in perspective, let's go look at Hasten. Hasten has a recharge time of 400 and base recharge time of 450 seconds. We're at 113.7. We literally have a 6-second plus delta when we could take lag and still re-trigger Hasten in time to have it react again and again and again. And recovery aura and regeneration aura, despite the massive amounts of regeneration, or sorry, yeah, despite the massive amounts of recharge we are pushing, are still well over their duration periods. 120, we're at 125.7 seconds recharge time. So let's call it 126 with lag and timing delays. So 126 minus 90, we are 36 seconds, over half a minute away from recovery aura and regeneration aura being usable by the player. If you're trying to buff yourself as a player, that's not really a. That's not. These aren't good. I get it. And the reason I get it is because if you hit regeneration aura, and I'll just go and read off the numbers again. We'll bring up advanced totals. I know you can't see it. But right now, my regeneration aura, uh, with the regeneration aura turned on, I'm clocking 1,211.31% regeneration, which translates into 81.07 HP per second. That's with a minuscule. Okay, I actually am capped into, but I'm still at 1606 HP. I'm don't If you have more HP, regeneration means more. But still, with regeneration aura, I'm still clocking an insane amount of 80 plus HP per second. I can, even as a controller, wade into almost anything and live. But the live developers, Cryptic and then Paragon View, was it's so powerful and game changing for a support archetype, it needs to have a really large recharge timer. Well, the formulas are broken, guys. No. If you're going to do that, you have to give some other kind of survivability elsewhere in the set. And this comes back to what I keep hammering in over and over and over. Some of the formulas are completely broken. Defense is paramount because defense can be achieved by any player on any build. Defense can have a night and day performance change for the character, and once you are into a soft cap defense and you can make use of that soft cap defense, we are into range soft cap defense very early. By the time you're hitting Katie Hannon Task Force, Manticore Task Force, Citadel Task Force, maybe even Sister Psyche Task Force, Penelope Yin Task Force, the Sutter Trial, the Mordecai Strike Force, Renault Strike Force. By the time you get into all of the mid-range task forces and strike forces where you can really start to rack up on reward merits, returns, you can already potentially be into a soft cap. And something else to keep in mind here, all of your range defense is coming through maneuvers, group invisibility, weave, and your slots in blind, deceive, spectral terror, phantom army. And phantom army is the last place where we have a defense buff in an IO set after this. So if you get all the way to level 30 in Phantom Army and after that, by the time you're into your mid 30s, if you're just slotting these enhancements, okay, you can't superior the ATOs or the winter here. So you won't be at 45% soft cap if you are making this as a leveling build, but you'll still be well over 30%. And in the mid range, when you're probably not pushing +8 x4, or yeah, x8 +4, when you're probably just running with teams that don't have any IOs slottings at all themselves, you can be a game changer because you will just be taking so much less damage with a very small range of enhancements. All right. So bringing this back, how do I envision this being played? Well, in my illusion, the first thing you always do is you drop Phantom Army. Phantom Army gives you a quick taunt. All the enemy focus on Phantom Army. Now, if we look over at the IF build for a second in the background, and we'll move the IF build up, the idea here is that you use Phantom Army to get the attention, and then you drop in Ice Storm on top of the mob that have now gathered around your Phantom Army, because you really don't have a whole lot of other damage that you can bring to bear. And then you'd maybe start blasting away with Ice Blast, or swap off between Ice Blast and Blind. Because of the moderate damage. Moderate damage. Swap back and forth between Ice Blast and Blind on single targets using Ice Storm, Phantom Army, and Spectral Terror to kind of hold enemies in place. You may toss Fortitude on your Phantasm. Might notice the Phantasm is slightly underslotted. And that's because if you can Fortitude boost your Phantasm, uh, that underslotting really doesn't matter. It just it doesn't. And if you want to be a proud about it, you can also toss Adrenaline Boost on your Phantasm, and now your Phantasm will basically be a tiny tank. And since Adrenaline Boost is well into perma, you can just keep tossing Adrenaline Boost on your Phantasm over and over and over, and he'll just keep chunking around like a little unkillable tank. So that's just something to keep in mind is Fortitude and Adrenal boosting your Phantasm, and you'll be able to put out a lot more damage as a controller since you have so much damage that is tied up in that particular pet. Okay. Now, if you have to get in close, I really see Flash being used as a get me out of here. You flash and you get out. Group invisibility as a since it comes up, you flash yourself. I did not mean it that way. Since you, I like using group invisibility because it's a click, it's a constant effect, it hits teammates. Now there are some players who really, really, really don't like it, because group invisibility does interfere with taunting effects, and that admittedly can be a tiny bit of a problem. Okay. So that's kind of how I see the Illusion Empathy Ice Flight being played, is picking off from ranged and just staying out of the way, letting your Phantom Army, which doesn't have flight, just kind of soak up the damage and keep enemies focused on them. How do I see the Stone being played? Because this is a little bit more closer up. Comparatively speaking,
you still have smashing, lethal, energy negative range defense. You can get in close. Just how do I really see this being played out? Well, the idea kind of is you're only going to use seismic smash if you can afford to get in close. You've gotten in close, you're up against a hardened target, you want to put down a little bit more damage. And you have some damage here to do that. Now, you do lose since in order to get in close and use Seismic Smash, this may be a point where if this is the build you're thinking about, you may change Fly and Hover for, say, Super Speed, or you may, we'll look at Force of Will for a second. You could take Well, no, because you still need to pick up a defense power of some kind. So you need either hover or combat jumping. So you are kind of tied there. So if you do leaping, you could take super jumping, combat jumping, or you could take super speed and combat jumping. And if we do combat jumping, okay, then we're kind of locked into we could either take super jump or super speed to get in close. We'll just use super jump for an example. And you could do super jump, defense endurance recharge. And instead of doing how many do we have? One, two, three, four, five. This may actually be something where you think about, since this really isn't adding much in the way of resist, just going with, say, another Luck of the Gambler set, or maybe looking at Gift of the Ancients, or maybe reactive defenses. But even then, that's a scaling resist proc. Anyways, you may not want to. I do the shield wall resist proc for the plus resist, even though I don't have the reactive. I don't think I have the reactive scaling defense in here anymore. And let's just see what this looked like if we just change one of these to the scaling resist value. Okay, and we can see there we lost our energy negative. Yeah, so we kind of need our defenses here to keep our energy negative. This now we can just get in close. We have some knockback protection from tough. So we can, that's how I would see this one being played, is you run up to an enemy, smack them with fissure to open up, or drop Phantom Army, run in, smack them with fissure to use the disorient. Yeah, fissure has a knockback, and normally I'm all about mitigating the knockback. And our knockback, however, is only mag .067. If you were running against anything that's plus level to you, uh, having a little bit, having this will be knocked down, not necessarily knocked back. And if you're a controller with not a whole lot of damage options, you may be more comfortable with, hey guys, back away from me. And that's how I see it being played. So, to address the original question, would I be worried about the endurance cost on healing R or throwing healing R on auto? Not really, because by the time the only way you can make this build is if you're already at level 50. Yeah, you could use it as a basis for making a leveling build. You could go ahead and put in the base Winter Bite. You could put in the base ATOs, and you could go ahead and slot Carnivaldos out and just leave some of these other powers with just standard IOs in them and only finish filling out later. You can make your own leveling path off of one of these builds. Yes, you could, but you're not going to be able to fill it in and hit every single one of the points that it ultimately offers until you start backfilling in and have access to all of your slots and can afford to catalyze the ATOs and the event origin enhancement to their superior types. So like this really wouldn't be a leveling build. So I wouldn't really be worried about the endurance cost coming off of Healing Heart. Now, at the top end, once you've actually, or even in the mid range, once you've got everything slotted and you're going back and you're playing other content, you're running with other teams, you're running weekly strike targets, you're running with your supergroup, you're doing your role play event, you're doing a an all controller event. And because some of the controllers are low level, you're going to go run something low level. When you're doing activities in the game, you're playing with other players, and you have a high level character, you can bring more back to the low levels as a player. And that's a critical thing about City of Heroes, because you cannot really do that in any other MMO or any other quasi MMO. If you are in Borderlands, if you are a high level player with high level guns and you join your low level friend, you can basically ruin their game because you're wiping everything out and they're not getting the rewards. Or at least not really. Your best bet is to have something that's within level range of your friend, or drop them some sweet loot so that they can, you know, have a better time in their game if you're massively over level. Most traditional MMORPGs, World of Warcraft, which I have no idea why it's still popular. It shouldn't be. It's not really a good game. Yes, it is a deliberate shot at the current development path and the ongoing woes with, and more people realize Blizzard hasn't actually made a decent game in years. Yeah, I really am enjoying the fallout over people realizing that Overwatch really isn't that good at all. And I'm especially enjoying the meltdowns as people realize that StarCraft 2 isn't that good at all either. I'm sorry, I take joy in people realizing that Blizzard has not been Blizzard for over a decade. Okay, so rant aside, in City of Heroes, the ability to take a power build and go back down and be powerful and still help your teammates and still get rewards at that lower level that you can then use to build other characters so that you can make your dream concepts, not just one character. We don't suffer from altitis. We say, hit the character creator, make your dream. It's kind of the point, and that's something that one of the former lead developers of City of Heroes did not understand and really ruined his reputation with the community, with the actual players, when it revealed he didn't understand that this is about making the characters, making the character you want to make. My builds are not going to be for every character. They may not be for your concept. My builds are going to try and focus on getting the maximum performance out of a concept that can be made to work with the power sets that are available. But it's up to you and the player to decide, why would my player have this? Why would my illusion have access to stone armor? Is she a magic user? Does she control nature? Does she control light? Is this a hard light effect? In that aspect, ice might be a better option, because if you're controlling hard light, well, what's ice other than a reflective light surface? And that's one of the big things, one of the big problems I have with some of the design in City of Heroes is that a number of sets, a number of powers, a number of entire archetypes are not designed to make all choices equal. All choices are not equal. If you, and we'll go over this again, I realize I'm running kind of long and ranty on here. But if we, and I'm kind of doing going down as for the player who asked about, well, how do you get around healing aura and its endurance cost? And you just don't use healing aura. It's once you reach soft cap defenses, you're probably only going to be hitting healing aura maybe once in a while to recover what little damage you get. And once you got regeneration aura, you can just trigger a regeneration aura and, for the most part, be completely immune to damages while it's running. And then you only have to worry about firing off healing aura, well, when you're in that 36, 30 something seconds when regeneration aura isn't available. So endurance cost really isn't a big issue at the top end on a completed build. Survivability is a pretty big issue. There's not a whole lot of native defense within Illusion, but because of the way this build is constructed, because of the powers and sets that are available, you can actually be into range soft cap defense and maybe pick up, say, uh, we'll look at Leviathan Mastery. If you want to summon a Coralax and you want to throw water around, Leviathan Mastery is pretty good for that. If you want to throw electricity around, you have Ball Lightning, and you could summon a Moo Guardian. And then you have another pet that you could throw something, one of your factors on. You could go down the Power Boost route and have Power Blast and Energy Torrent. You could go Sonic Mastery and have some, and I've done Sonic Mastery before on my Illstorm, and have Mental Blast and World of Confusion and Sonic Tornado. And you could go Soul Mastery, and maybe for Soul Mastery I would instead go Dark Consumption, Dark. Okay, how would I do this uh as a Soul Mastery? All right, we want Dark Consumption, Dark Embrace, Soul Drain, and well, we won't. We'll take Dark Obliteration. We'll take Dark Obliteration, Soul Drain, and then Dark Embrace. All right, so Soul Drain, we're going to all right, Dark Consumption. Now let's slots enhancement, slots, auto range all slots. Okay, I may be able to make this work. It's like I have an idea of where I'm going with this. And we've already used Gladiator's armor down there. Yeah, we'll go this way. We'll do Resistance Endurance. And we'll do the max HP. And Dark Consumption will go here. And we'll do Chance for Heal Self. And we'll do... Okay. We may have to go Preventative Optimization. Because what I'm looking for is... Okay, in-mod... Yeah, we'll do Preemptive Optimization instead. In-mod Accuracy Recharge. In-mod Accuracy Endurance. Check our... We're at 109 seconds. Not any damage in there. And now what I want to do is... What do I look like here? want to do this. What what's my return on weave? 7.25%. Is agility active? Yeah, agility's active. Yeah, right now what I'm thinking is if I dropped kick, tough, and weave, I don't think I can make that work. My initial plan here was to somehow fit in combat teleport or the experimentation for speed of sound for its teleport. And when I pause the playlist to kind of focus on this. The thing is, right now, we need hasten to get to Perma Phantom Army. We need weave because it has the strongest effect buff at 4.5 base defense. So we have to go deep on kick, tough, weave. We have to take maneuvers because if we don't take maneuvers, then we need to find some. Then we would need to take flight for hover because we don't have another conveniently available toggle defense to make up for maneuvers based 2.6 defense. We're already taking combat jumping. We can't drop combat jumping unless we swap to fly and hover. There are no other defenses other than stealth. Okay, but if we go with stealth, uh, then then that still doesn't get us to combat teleport. We may be able to take infiltration, but I already know that stealth and the stealth power and infiltration don't stack. So the best we can really do here is either super speed or super jump to land in the middle of an mob, soul drain. And part of the thing here is I did this for a while. Soul drain is great if you have some rain attacks or you have massively damaging power in your set, but soul drain is not passed along to either Phantom Army or Phantasm. So the two biggest um, powers that would really benefit from being able to supercharge their damage on cast, you can't do that. You can Fortitude Phantasm, but that's it. So this is an impractical examination of what you could do, but you are still into energy negative and range soft cap. But since Soul Drain requires you to get within melee range to be useful, and so does Dark Consumption, you're not soft capped to smashing or lethal. You're definitely not soft capped to melee, and you stand a very strong chance of getting smushed by an opposing mob if you try to use a resist set that's not soft capped to defenses. Yes, you have better smashing lethal resist. You may be able to take one or two hits, but you still don't have an anti-mez of your own, and you are going to take those hits, many of which will probably include a mez effect of some kind. So while, yeah, this kind of build is available, you could use it as a concept, you are definitely sacrificing your in-play capability. You are having to give up survivability and you're not getting anything in return. You're not really getting more damage in return. Uh you're not getting anything back for making this choice. Yeah, you might be filling a concept, but that's it. You're not getting anything back performance wise. Okay, how would you fix this? Well, the first thing is that you would change Dark Embrace to include a defense component, or you would change it to include an absorb component. You would make it so that it includes an anti-mez component, a protection, not resist, not status effect resist, status effect protection, So that if you took Dark Embrace, you would get anti-mez from taking Dark Embrace, and then you would have a reason to, okay, I can get in close, I can take a few hits, I won't get immediately mez unless there's something in there with a really powerful mez who it would make sense can mez a high level player. If you've got a boss in there with a mez power, yes, it probably would make sense that the boss can put a mez effect on a high level player. It doesn't really make sense that a minion can just go, "Oh, you're shut down. Oh, you're shut down. Oh, you're shut down." No, that breaks the immersion. It breaks how the player expects the game to function. But that's the quick way to resolve many of the resist sets is change the resist into or add an absorb component and an anti-mez component to the resist, and that way players can get in, take a couple of hits if they're using a resist set without having to drastically sacrifice player performance because they're not soft capped to defense. And yeah, I know I've done this rant like 100 times now, but I keep coming back up because it's very critical to understand why design choices are made during slotting and why as a player you will need to, if you want to have a performative character, you will need to rationalize role play why your character would take those particular powers. And this is why Scorpion Shield, why so many, it's not just Scorpion Shield is useful as a defense because it is a tech based power. Anybody can say, well, I work with Black Scorpion. Yes, I'm a hero. He didn't know I was a hero. I got his tech. He gave it to me. It's okay. Or you can make up whatever explanation you want. You can say, "Oh, I beat the crap out of Black Scorpion, and when we impounded his shield tech, I asked the Paragon Police Department if I could look at Black Scorpion's shield tech, and I looked at it and I figured out how it worked, and I made my own version. Yes, it's exactly like his because I copied it." That's kind of you if you were hung up on, I must be a fire, so I must have a fire aura, and nothing else but fire aura will do. And then when you keep going splat and split, and you find your play experience miserable, yeah, it's your bad role playing choices. If you go, okay, I'm a fire. I have fire powers. I need some defense because I'm taking too many hits. I'm gonna go burn the crap out of Black Scorpion. Yes, I defeated Black Scorpion. He's in jail. I've got access. I went to the trainer and I figured out with the trainers how Black Scorpion's armor worked. And you know what? I'm going to use my fire powers to power this shield. I can put off excessive amounts of heat. I'm a thermal generator. So my shield is thermal powered. Yes, it's eco-friendly. It's thermal powered. Role play your own power choices. If you want to make bad power choices because your role play determines that, that's up to you. But it really is up to you as the player. You can make other choices. You can take a build. You can change it. You can modify. You can think, I want this power, I want that power. But ultimately, you do need to justify, not just from a role playing perspective, but from a mechanical perspective, how does this work? I have an idea of how the ice powers will work from range, why you would want to get in close, how you would get in close, what powers you would need to take. And then from there, I'll work on, well, why would the character take super speed? Would they pick up piston boots? Would they be naturally fast? Would everyone just think that they're fast because they're an illusionist? Or, do they have flight? Are they if they have flight, they're able to control the winds. If they can control the winds, of course they can hit you with an Arctic blast. Of course they can just ice storm. Have fun. See you on the ground. Yes, some of the actual power sets need overhauls to be performance competitive. That's not a question. That's a statement. Yes, some builds look a lot alike because there's only some powers that only do one thing. There's only one power that does what Hasten does. There were more powers that did something like what hasten does offer. And we've got an endurance. Where's preventative medicine? Do I still have preventative medicine in here anywhere? Not on this one. It's over. Okay, it's over on this one. Preventative medicine has an endurance discount. Okay, why not do a recharge discount? No, I mean like a flat power that just 30% recharge gone. It's not hasten. It's not a click power. And that's how you do it. You give players options. Options. You give players alternatives. Is different powers that do different things for different reasons. And that way, instead of having lots of builds that I've got to fit hasten in. I've got to fit tough in. I've got to fit weave in. Because these are the only power sets that offer these advantages. When you start giving players more options, when you start putting more defense, toggle defenses, or passive defenses into the lower pool sets, where you start putting more resist into the lower pool sets, when you start putting more recharge reductions into the lower pool sets, when you now have more options to go with fly, with jump, with running around, with you don't really have a second option for teleporting yet. Not really sure how that's going to work. But giving players options give players the freedoms to better build something that is different. And you've noticed between all of these builds, I really haven't changed anything in lower end because all of those powers are already almost determined by what enhancements can actually go in there to get a specific end goal. And it's understanding the theory, understanding how enhancements are placed, how the game was designed, what the limitations are, that you realize that, okay, healing aura, and this is going back and answering the original question that started this almost hour-long stream. What really matters is what you're covering. What don't you have? I don't have regeneration aura all the time, but when I do have regeneration aura, I'm effectively immortal, invulnerable. Anything that's attacking me has to plow through at least 80, has to outdamage 80 HP per second regeneration. So all I have to do is I only got what, 30, 36, 40 seconds of downtime. So that's I only have to worry about healing aura for a very limited amount of time comparatively, and if I'm at soft cap defenses, I'm taking less damage inherently because I'm at soft cap defense, and I've still got all my other powers to worry about. The endurance cost on healing aura is negligible. Okay, in order to get the range defense, you are giving up the Namina proc on a regular basis, but that's a choice that you kind of have to make. Do I want to give up this constant effect to get a specific bonus that's going to make my character overall more powerful where I don't have to worry about this? And then it's an empathy. You've got recovery aura, same kind of limitations of regeneration aura, but when you hit recovery aura, you don't have to worry about endurance. Okay, and we'll go ahead and save this as save this one as illusion, empathy, soul, and we were jump. So soul, jump, R2. All right, we'll get this posted to the forums.